talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm here with our editor, Bill Moore, and I have special guest, Dr. Alex Lawrence, the CEO of EV Auto. How are you doing, Alex?
Hi, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
We really appreciate having you come on. So, Bill had posted an article on EV World, and it had got picked up by Business Insider India, of all places.
Saw that.
And we had been discussing it, and that's kind of how I came across you, was you were getting exposure on Business Insider India, talking about your EV auto situation and how you've grown this in Bountiful, Utah. Is that a suburb of Salt Lake or?
Yeah, about 10, 15 minutes north of Salt Lake City.
Okay. Okay. And anyways, it's kind of an interesting little article, and bear with me a second. And it says you used to be in food franchising.
Yeah,
That's
I was
kind of
in
fascinating.
franchise industry for over a decade. Yep.
Nice, nice. And anyways, it's funny. My co-founder and I were talking. It's such a pain to buy or sell a used Tesla. And how did that? Can you tell us how that conversation came about?
Yeah, so he and I are both early adopters. We love new technology. We're always trying the latest hardware and software gadgets, and Tesla certainly fit the bill. It's not so much now; it's a lot more mainstream, but back then, and so we were just lamenting, not wanting to buy new cars because of the depreciation. That it was really hard to find a used Tesla. And not efficient. And so we actually started building EV cars, which we own evcars.com and evtrucks.com and other good domains that we've acquired to be a marketplace for other people to buy and sell. And I can get into how we, have kind of pivoted into EV auto or morphed into or opportunistically, shifted gears for a non-EV automotive term. Happy to tell more of that story if you'd like.
And I'm also fascinated. You started this in 2019.
Mhm.
So 2019 was probably a pretty normal year in the automotive industry. EV are still kind of early adopting as a dealer. 2020 till just, maybe the past year, used car prices just went out of sight.
Yeah,
And so how has that experience in the EV market dealing with, you know, 2020 till probably the start of this year?
yeah. I mean, I think most dealers had a really rough experience, in the EV industry. In fact, it's well documented that they have, whether they're selling new ones or used ones outside of Tesla. It's been largely a struggle, and I've got kind of ideas and opinions on why that is. For us, we've grown dramatically during that time, and we've been we've been profitable every month for the last 4 years, and so we've been able to navigate that. It's bumpy. I mean, I still feel like we're very early, and I still feel like the ride is going to be very bumpy. And who knows if monthly profitability is going to continue. But yeah, it's been a very somebody that wasn't in the car business at all prior to starting this, no previous experience. It's been a huge learning curve for sure.
I'm seeing that a lot in the industry. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I was going to say you've got a PhD. I'm just curious as to what your PhD is in and how did that either help or hinder your emergence in the world of electric vehicles?
Yeah, so I've got my PhD from Oklahoma State University in business. Did my dissertation on grit and entrepreneurship because I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. Started teaching for fun as a infrequent adjunct. Loved it so much that continued to teach a little more and came to the realization that to be really accepted in the academic world, you had to have a PhD. And so, I traveled out to Oklahoma. I commuted to Oklahoma for, like 3.5 years from Utah. And it was a miserable experience. I hated it. I love my peers and a few of my professors, but it was not for me. But I finished. And so I would say, that experience helped me a lot, not because of what I learned in my PhD, because it's really it's mostly how to do scientific research. That's mostly what they teach you. which isn't my cup of tea. But the concept of just grit, right? Just continuing to not quit and make myself do something that was the hardest thing I've ever chosen to do in my life. And so, pushing through that and finishing, gave me some momentum and confidence that I could do things that were really difficult and that were new and I didn't have a lot of confidence in. And EVs were certainly
So,
they fit the bill.
yeah. So then you got into fruit franchising, which is what you were setting up Burger Kings or what was it you were doing?
Yeah, so it was actually food franchising was my previous life prior to teaching and EV. So it was over a decade ago. So you know what? Just as a young entrepreneur wanting to get involved in businesses, there was a really successful one near me that was small, and I thought it'd be great to get involved. And so I earned some opportunities there and got to be a part of a really high growth, very successful regional chain that was acquired by Jamba Juice. And I just stuck with it for a while because I didn't know any better or any different. And that was a good experience. And I learned a ton. I've said before, I probably learned more in those first few years in that role than I did in all three of my college degrees combined. And so just the experience there. So I stuck with it and got involved in a number of franchises, both as franchisee and franchisor, collecting royalties and paying them. And until I kind of came to the conclusion after about a decade that, it's not really what I'm passionate about. It's been fun. I've learned a ton about how to operate and grow a business, payroll and accounting and marketing and negotiation and contracts and employees and custom, all that stuff. But then I shifted a little over a decade ago into early adoption of technology, software app development, a SaaS company, and that led to teaching and then EV Auto.
So what was your introduction to electric vehicles? What was the match that lit the fuse, so to speak?
Well, it was Tesla, no question.
Yeah.
The first Tesla ride. I was immediately enthralled with. My first thing was the speed, right? The instant, takeoff. But then as I started looking at the software and the hardware, and as self-driving started to get better, my interest in it just continued to increase. And as more manufacturers started to make them or saying they were going to, looking at concept cars and just thinking about where that was going, at this moment, I'm like excited about it, And so, but yeah, Tesla, no question, was the catalyst there.
So I presume you have one or own one or have had.
Yeah, no, my family drives exclusively electric vehicles for the last 4 years, and it's all I drive. Occasionally we get a trade-in that's a gas car that's fun to drive around, and I still enjoy those. And I don't think EVs are everyone by any means. But I think obviously, pretty compelling reason for them to be a good choice for many people. But yeah, that's definitely I'm all in, and it's fun owning a dealership. I get to drive all the different kinds.
Right.
And
I noticed the photograph was taken looked like out on the Salt Lake of a BMW i8.
That's right.
I'm curious, was that a car that you owned, or was that just one of the ones that you had for sale?
Well, I own all of them technically.
Oh, okay.
So it was one that we acquired and sold to a customer. We actually customized it for them and stuff. And that's a plug-in hybrid. And so we also do plug-in hybrids. We don't do non-plug-ins. And so, people think that we only do electrics. We do, primarily only electric, but yeah, that one's eye-catching with the butterfly doors that open up. So made for a good photo,
Right. Well, I had an experience of trying to get out of one.
Yeah.
For an old guy, they're not the easiest car to get in and out of. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's a trick, and I show people you have to really put one leg deep down in and then follow it down to the bottom. But that is a thing for sure, all ages.
Well,
okay,
if you look at, if you look at some of the original cars, they didn't have the door. At some point, it was like 30, 40 years in, they decided to create doors for the cars. People used to have to step over.
Yeah.
So it used to be more like a bathtub. So.
And it feels kind of like that. They are hard to get in and out of, but they're not practical. They're two-door convertibles. That's not
Yeah.
By definition, that's not a super practical car.
Yeah.
What were you going to ask, Bill?
Oh, I was just going to say, why don't you jump in there with the questions you got?
Oh, yeah. So, anyways, uh, I want to talk a little bit about your views on what's going on right now, because one of the things I'm seeing, with the economy, obviously interest rates are increasing, and the idea of that is to stymie inflation, which of course means people stop buying things, right? And in this is something that it's hurting not just gas-powered cars, it's really hurting electric cars. The electric vehicle companies and their product lines aren't as strong, obviously, as the internal combustion cars. What are your thoughts of this going forward with the way interest rates are sitting?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has an impact. I think that it depends on what kind of electric car or the price point of the electric car. The kind of arguably the more expensive they get, the less interest rates potentially have an impact on that buyer because either they're paying in cash or they're less sensitive to those kinds of things. I mean, we're fortunate in Utah where we sell the vast majority of our cars. We've got a credit union dealer lending network, and so our interest rates are in the 6%, and so
Oh,
that's
nice.
much lower than the 9 to 10% stuff that you're seeing around the country. So that's still a far cry from 1.99 or whatever they were at back in the good old days. And so I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday. When interest rates on car loans go down, there's going to be an explosion in buying, in my opinion. And when I say they go down a meaningful number, when they go down to sub 5%, when you're talking 4 point something and below, I think, and that's going to benefit everybody across the board. But in the interim, when rates are high, regardless of where you're living compared to where they were previously, there's no doubt that it impacts sales, no question.
Yeah.
Are there any other EV only car dealerships in your market in where you're at in Utah? So
No,
like
and there's
we
not a ton around the country from what I can tell. But in Utah, there are a couple of locations that have a pretty good selection of used Teslas, but it's their side thing. They sell other cars as their either as a franchise dealer where they're selling a brand, and that's 95% of their real estate and marketing and everything. And they've got a person or two that's dedicated to it, and they've got an inventory of it, but nobody that's all in only EV in Utah, and there's not a ton of those around the country from what I can tell.
there's not. There's
Yeah.
not. I mean, there are a few in California in particular, but when you get into California, you've got some sections you have you could have the federal used rebate, and then they'll even have some localized rebates for like Pomona County or something like that. And it's real interesting to see where some of that is.
Well,
And
there's some
I'm
other great ones, in Recharge in Carolina, and there's a group in Chicago, and there's others that are definitely doing it and doing it well outside of California and us. But like I said, it's still not a very big number.
Yeah, one of the things that attracted me to that article in the Business Insider was the comment that was made that most car dealerships aren't doing it right, and that's what attracted me. And then in reading through the article, you make mention of the Nordstrom white glove experience. I was wondering if you take a minute here and explain sort of your philosophy and how your approach to dealing with potential customers, how's that different from what you've seen or heard about other dealers and how they deal with prospective electric car buyers?
Yeah, so I think the word disrupt is potentially overused, but I think we could all easily agree that EVs have disrupted the auto industry. I mean, there's no question. And so we're piggybacking off that a little bit, saying we're kind of trying to disrupt, maybe reinvent, or maybe just improve the car buying experience and the car buying experience in person. Everybody's trying to improve and create online buying experiences, whether it's Carvana, others, that deliver the car to you or make it really easy to buy it from home, and all those things are great. But my feeling is that the vast majority of our customers in the 90th percentile, they've never owned an EV before. And they want to talk to somebody, but they're scared to because they don't want to be accosted by salespeople and pestered and pressured into buying. And so they've got this this kind of tug of war, like, oh, I want to go in and I have questions, but I don't want to have that negative experience that kind of is a stereotype for car dealers, and it's earned for sure. And one of the reasons I think that happens is a lot of car dealers haven't bought a car as a customer in a very long time. They haven't experienced that, and so and some of them, like if it's generational, they haven't ever done it really.
Yeah.
Or if they've been doing it early in their career. And since I have had no experience in the car industry and I've bought a lot of cars, I know how miserable the experience is. It's been terrible. I don't have any good experiences that I can remember. Now, I might not have any traumatic ones, but I mean, it's the second largest purchase of almost everybody's life, or statistically, It is the second. And I can't tell you a dealership that I love and that I had a great experience and I bought dozens of cars personally. I mean, that's a terrible track record.
Yeah.
And so, coming from that perspective of knowing the things that I dislike and others dislike, and just creating a culture right out of the gates and trying to get that word out that, look, come in and talk to us. We are not going to pressure you to buy a car. We're happy to sit with you about it and educate you about it. And we're going to try and help you make a good decision, whether it's now or later, for the right one for you, in terms of, how far does it need to go, and how much does self-driving matter to you, and what kind of charging options do you have both at home and on your trips, and what your budget is, and what do we think the future's like. And it's really very simple. We just treat people like that. And the fact that we know more about them than just about anybody gives them some confidence. And then we go the extra mile, Bill, like just little things, like we do free pickup and delivery. Our environment, our building and our environment is really cool and unique and designed to be welcoming. All of our whole building is clear garage doors that you can open up. So you can enter the building anywhere that you want, instead of like just through the one door where historically people, the worst is when salespeople are waiting by the door for people to come in, and they're incentivized to do that. I get why they're there, but it's just stay back. I'm just here to look. And so there's a lot of those things that we can do, shorten the buying process. We don't push them to buy things that we don't think are actually potentially valuable to them on the back end. We don't offer warranties on new cars. And I can go on and on about experiences. I have a friend that bought a Kia, 2023 Kia with 5,000 miles, clean title, clean Carfax. And when he went to buy it, the paperwork was done. They had baked into the deal a $5,000 warranty on a brand new Kia. And, Kias are extremely reliable, and I had a ton of warranty left. And if I recall, Kias have one of the longest warranties, I think. Maybe it's Hyundai or both. I mean, that just, and he had to tell him he didn't want it, and they kind of tried to talk him into it, and it just, $1,000 doc fees and have to use our financing. Like, we will never punish somebody for paying cash. Great, good for you that you've been wise with your finances and you can pay cash for a car. There's a long list of that kind of stuff that culturally we'll just never do.
Yeah.
Well, the whole industry, I mean, you look at it, you go in the traditional industry, the salesman makes his commission for selling the car, but he makes a lot more if you do a trade-in. And so they want you to trade in. They want you to go in and sit with their finance manager, and then let the finance manager close you on a loan where they make money on the loan. The finance manager will then try to close you on the extended warranty, and all those things where they're making all these additional revenue streams. On a new car, uh, the margins are not as good as they are on used cars, but that's kind of where they make money on all those steps. Then they make money on the service. Now, on the EV side, are you providing any kind of service at your location other than just selling the cars?
Can I just say one more thing on that topic before we move past
Sure.
it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Profit's not a dirty word at all. And so them wanting to maximize profits and stuff, great. We do it too. And we offer warranties on the back end. But you're going to talk to the same person or an owner as the second person. But we're only going to offer. So, for example, there's a warranty that we offer to do key fobs, glass repair, and wheel repair as three things. And with Teslas, curb rashing those wheels is very common. You guys know, because they stick out further. They're harder to see. The key fobs, if you have a fob on like an S or an X, they're very expensive to replace. And these cars have tons of glass. And so we offer that to every person that buys one. And I feel great about that because it's good value and they're very likely to use it. And so don't get me wrong, we offer stuff. We tint their windows. We ask them if they want to do PPF or a vinyl wrap, or, we do
Nice.
tires and rims. And we let them know we do all that stuff, and we make more money when they do. Awesome. But we don't offer extended warranties for cars that have significant warranty life left. We just won't do it. And if they want to and they ask us about it, then great. We're happy to, we're not going to tell them how to spend their money. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with that. I wanted to make that clear, and we do it too, just not kind of the same way. And so, to your point about service, I believe you were asking about.
Yes.
So we do offer service for electric vehicles, and we offer free pickup and delivery. So if you want us to work on your car, we'll come get it, we'll fix it, we'll bring it back. The thing about EV service, and we're just experimenting with it, and so we're very early in that. It's tires, it's brakes, it's fluid exchange, it's not carburetors and all these moving parts that can break and stuff. And so, but they still need things. Where the opportunity for us is, because you want it to be profitable, is in the labor side, because it does take a little more labor because there's less moving parts. And so, we think it's going to be a meaningful part of our business because, it's plenty of cars are going to be out of warranty, because if it's warranty, they're going to have Tesla do it or other manufacturers, and Tesla's not going to pay us to do it. They're not going to, have us cover warranty things. And so makes total sense for them to do that for the most part. But yeah, all these cars are coming out of warranty. We'd really love to be a service option for them.
I think wraps is a really good, place to be in, especially with the Cybertruck coming out, where it's only going to be, no paint job.
Yeah, a lot of people love to wrap. I mean, and our wrap prices are very competitive, super high quality material, professional installers. But yeah, I mean, Teslas are a popular car to wrap. And so, so we love doing that for our customers. And again, we free pickup and delivery. We'll give them a loaner if it's any kind of extended period of time. Just stuff to, again, try to make it easy for them, a good experience. So all those things we offer.
Can I ask you how you source? These are used cars, I gather. You picked up out of auctions or something. Can you just kind of walk us through what one of the other advantages I see of dealing with you is it looks like, at least the photographs I've seen, you've got a fairly wide variety of types of vehicles that people can look at. So everything from a Hummer to a Model X, and then everything in between. So how kind of walk us through that? How do you get, where do you source your vehicles from and that type of thing?
Yeah, so two parts to that. The first one, all the ways you can get a car. So auto auction, buying them from private sellers. Some of them people are upgrading and receive them on a trade. We'll buy them from other dealers that receive them on a trade. They don't want them. And we've got other few kind of novel proprietary sources that give us some inventory that isn't as accessible to others. And one of our real competitive advantages historically around that has been, since it's the only thing we do, we're a little bit better perhaps at assessing what will be in demand and what is a good price to pay and things like that. And one of our other competitive advantages is, since we don't use flooring, we don't have to have cars we're not going to be buying cars all the time. And so, for example, October was slower for us than September, but that was by design because we have less cars because we didn't want to overpay for vehicles. I mean, there's nothing worse than I can think of having a bunch of cars on the lot and maintaining a certain sales volume, because, the more cars you have, the more cars you're going to sell, the more eyeballs you get, the more people. But then looking out at your inventory at the end of the month that you just finished, that you hit your sales goal, going, oh my gosh, we got a bunch of cars we overpaid for. And so our inventory was lower in October by design. And so I think we made the right strategic decision, because a lot of people are overpaying. A lot of dealers and others are overpaying for cars right now. And so we're just kind of waiting. The other part of your question, and this is, I think, a real, very serious competitive advantage, and our job is to get the word out that we're there. If you want to drive multiple brands, then you're going to multiple locations. Yeah. And you're potentially having multiple experiences with salespeople that are not ideal. And so, on our lot right now, we have Kia, Hyundai, Ford, Rivian, BMW, Tesla, Hummer, and Fisker. And so we have at least one of those on our lot in all those brands. And it also gives people confidence that if we don't have it, because we're not going to be able to have every model, every brand, but if we've got the biggest selection of anyone, it gives them some confidence. And if we've got great Google reviews and they we only do clean title and clean Carfax, and we source our vehicles a special way, they'll let us find one for them too.
Yeah.
So
are your customers primarily in the Salt Lake area, or if I wanted to get a car, I could see it online, which is exactly how I bought my. I have a Fiat 500e that I bought off of a lease in California and had shipped here.
Yep.
So could I? All right, I'm ready to trade in my Prius, for the Rivian. Could I do that and you ship it to me, or is it just primarily Salt Lake?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, right now we're not advertising nationally. Right now we don't have listings on the national listing sites, and that's on purpose. We're kind of testing some stuff here. And so right now, the majority of our customers are for sure along the Wasatch Front, the greater Salt Lake area. But I've sold cars to people all over the country over the last 4 years. I've shipped cars to be in a variety of states for that exact reason. So I think over time, and even in the near term, we'll start to push the boundaries outside of here a little bit, and offering our cars to more people in more places.
Okay.
So,
Dave?
This is kind of interesting. So one of the articles you had published, Bill, was on why fewer people are buying electric vehicles. And what's interesting is this is from gobankingrates.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about economic uncertainties. Well, like you're saying, it's the second biggest purchase somebody's going to make in their life. People are kind of, it's not just EVs, it's just cars in general. But people are concerned about battery supply chain issues. Is this something you see from customers?
Never.
Do you see people concerned about that? I mean, that was something charging infrastructure is obviously an issue. You're out in if you're going to go west from Salt Lake City, I don't know what it's like trying to get further west on I-80.
Oh, there's tons of charging options. There's no problems at all.
Nice. And you said you don't consciously go out and buy hybrids. Or do you?
No, we do plug-in hybrids.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
But admittedly, it's a very small percentage of our inventory. I think we have 2 or 3 right now that are plug-in hybrids. But something we're going to continue to. It's admittedly it's a market that's I know a lot less about, and there's also a lot more choices out there. And so getting comfortable with expertise, but it fits our brand. If it's got a plug, we're going to try and carry it. And so our inventory there will continue to grow, I think. And it's a great option for people too. That's the real thing that I'm a little bit like, dang it, we need to get better at this, because it's a great option for many, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think, I was going to say, I think EV sales are going to improve. I mean, next year, obviously, I don't know what percentage of the cars you sell are eligible for the U.S. rebates on used cars, but that'll be, I'm sure that'll be a help.
The thing that stinks about that is the $25,000 price limit. And so, absolutely, we are in January, we're going to have, more of those because of the way you can use the tax credit at the point of purchase. And so, we're going to increase our inventory there to make that available. But I mean, if they could make that more competitive with new cars, that'd be great. But it's really interesting. This is such a political topic, EVs and cars, and that article that originally appeared on it was on Yahoo's homepage for a little while. It has like 1,000 comments, and it's mostly, you can tell that people have a political view that is associated with EVs. And it's interesting. I think it's undeniable that Democratic leadership has been good for EV adoption and growth, no question. But if you're in used EVs, and you think Republicans are going to get rid of that stuff, it's better for used EVs to have a Republican leadership, because the rebate on new cars would go away, new EVs. And so the ability for used to have a wider discount would go up. Now, I'm not promoting one or the other, but it's just interesting how EVs benefit, I think, regardless of who's in the White House.
Well, Bill and I have had these discussions before about how most of the manufacturing benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act almost all went to Republican-led states.
Yeah,
And
it's,
because
it's so interesting how all that. I mean, I can't think of a situation. I mean, there's no car in history that's had anything remotely close to been a political hot button.
Yeah.
And so I get a lot of hate in the comments and in different social networks, from people that make assumptions. I'm a conservative person and have conservative beliefs, but I think you can do that and absolutely still love electric vehicles. It's weird to me that's a point of view, but anyway.
No, but I did an article recently, and somebody was arguing with me about on one of my videos about electric school buses, like they were going to go away. And it's like, you realize electric school buses have been around longer than electric cars. They started doing electric school buses in the 90s, and now there's like 7,000 of them on the road around the United States.
Didn't
And the
know
guy's
that.
like, in another year, they'll all go back to diesel. It's like, why would they? They've been doing this. I mean,
Yeah.
you got these big
Yeah.
public companies like Bluebird, who's been building buses for 90 years and has been pumping out electric buses for almost 30, and they're growing. That business is growing. Their stock is flat. It's not doing anything for their stock, but that's that's another problem in the whole EV industry that I usually end up talking about in my other episodes. But it's interesting just to kind of see some of the discussions I get into with people, and God forbid I post something in a conservative space, um, and see how much I get. I even have before said, please flame me in the comments.
Let me ask here also, one of the, you made the comment about depreciation, and the high cost of, if you buy something new, it's going to take a serious, particularly true. It seems to be at this point in time with electric vehicles, which is in part due to the fact that we don't have a good history of the residual value of the batteries and the car technology in particular. And so I'm kind of wondering as to, I've seen a movement. There's some development taking place now. Some companies that are going to be offering up apparently software analysis, where you can plug something into the CAD system on the car, and it'll give you a readout and tell you whatever you need to know about the state of the health of the battery. Is that something that you would be looking at? And how do you address that issue of, what's the residual value of that car?
Yeah, I mean, there's two issues there. Prior to all the Musk Tesla price cuts, the residual values for EVs were actually better than gas cars. They held their value better. And then Musk did all the greatest price cuts in car history, and then you went to the extreme opposite, the highest depreciating cars in history, fastest. And so really crazy how you went from these two different extremes. And just as an aside to that, I don't see how there's a whole bunch more downside on Model Ys and Model 3s for pricing, just because I know at some point they want to introduce a $25,000 Model 3 and others. And so if you keep pushing your price down there, you've got no reason to offer that. And so I think, it'd be interesting to go back and see. I think if there are any price cuts coming, they'll be subtle and that it won't kill. I mean, there's so many people out there. I'll give you an example. I have decided a while ago, like maybe a year and a half ago, to keep a plaid Model S that new was $150,000 with full self-driving and the 21-inch wheels and the white interior and all that stuff, that if I sold it today, it'd be in the 80s. And it's a 2021. with 20,000 miles on it. And so, just decided we're going to wrap it and have it be a company car, and we need one anyway. And so it makes sense, right? But there's a lot of people that will never, they'll drive these suckers into the ground because they're so upside down on them that, or until at least the loan's paid off, that they're going to get crushed. But with regard to other, depreciating issues with these cars and the battery specifically, there's a couple of great companies out there, but one that we're partnered with is called Recurrent. If you guys haven't heard of them, they provide these really detailed battery health reports on a used car. And so, they give it a score out of 100 by doing some really cool analysis. And then there's others out there that are starting. So you're going to see that becoming kind of the Carfax of batteries, if you will. And part of it too, that we like to educate people on, Bill, if you source the car really well and do the right pre and post inspections, and we're actually in the process of acquiring some tools that'll help us do some of those things like on site. There's a lot you can do to predict and prevent battery issues. Where a lot of dealers go wrong and a lot of customers don't know about it is, the quality of the cars when they buy them, not when they sell them. And so, if a car's got a very low rating in terms of its pre-sale condition, and it's had a whole bunch of owners, and it shows up and it's just been beat to heck, those are cars we won't buy. Because my feeling, whether it's accurate or not, is what else has gone on to that car. If the second owner of the three didn't take care of it, and so there's ways to kind of avoid that. The problem is the incentive for dealers to buy those other cars that I described is really high because they can get them a lot cheaper, spend modest amounts of money reconditioning them for resale, and the customer is none the wiser. And sometimes that's just completely, they're not doing anything that is different with any of their other cars. Other times, I think perhaps they're keeping that stuff up because they know that it would concern the buyer enough that they may not buy it.
Right.
So I've got one last topic for you.
Okay.
So next year, when that $4,000 rebate comes around, and I know that bolts are one of the ones that would be eligible. What cars do you even speculate next year would be in that sub $25,000 category that you guys might carry there in Utah that might be eligible for that $4,000 point of sale, tax credit?
Yeah, I mean, I have three right now. I've got a BMW, a Hyundai, and a Bolt right now that are all under $25,000 purchase price. And there's going to be some Teslas, rear-wheel drive, standard range for sure.
Okay.
And then the long-range Model 3 with higher miles, I think you'll be able to squeak under that 25. And so, there's going to be a number of the Tesla being the brand that everybody knows. Like I said, there's going to be options there, but there's already options and going to continue to be more used cars. And we're going to really go out of our way to find very high quality ones. The competition for those is going to go through the roof because that's not like this crazy
Raise the price
strategy, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be challenging, but yeah, we're definitely going to help customers take advantage of that come January.
Yeah. All right. Bill, you got any last comments?
No, I think we've pretty well.
No,
We
we've
just
had
sit
a
down
great
at a table
conversation.
over a beer or something and just keep going. But
Yeah, we'd be here
for
for
the
3
sake of our
hours.
audience's time.
Yeah. Alex, we really appreciate you coming on with us today. This has been very informative, and I'm sure we'll be talking again in the future.
Yeah, thanks for asking me, you guys. I appreciate you reaching out, and it's fun to talk about this, and it's cool what you're doing, and would love to know what I can do to support you guys and help you, grow this platform and get the good word out there. So thanks again.